Hello, I'm Kathleen Lau, and this is ComputerWorld Canada in Conversation. And in this week's Enterprise IT news, there was considerable shake-up at ERP vendor SAP as it announced the resignation of a couple of its leaders. But first up, IBM announced its 8-core Power 7 chip, and Rafael Ruffolo was in New York to cover the event. So Rafael, what's the deal with this new microprocessor?
Well, really exciting stuff, Kathleen. This was the next incarnation in their Power series. It was a global event, but this was the one taking place in New York, the one I was at. Press and analysts from all over the country and in Canada as well. Basically what they're doing is not focusing on the chip and focusing on the systems. Forget about the microprocessor. Microprocessor is cool stuff, but really what IBM is focusing on is the complete package. They did a good job of really demonstrating that you might as well go with IBM at this point because they really have everything under the same roof. They brought out their software people, the WebSphere, Tivoli, Lotus teams. They all work together with the hardware side of things to put out this 8-core processor. And one of basically the systems were 4 different systems. 2 of them were up to 64 Power 7 cores. The other 2 were 32 Power 7 cores. And this was really focused on the mid to upper enterprises. If you believe what they were saying as well, you'll definitely be expecting more Power 7 launches throughout the year, more systems geared towards even bigger enterprises. I think we should be hearing about that in the next 6 to 8 months.
Well, we did hear an announcement from Intel itself with its new chip.
Yeah, IBM kind of stole their thunder. Intel came out with a quad-core. It's the Itanium 9300. IBM had a little bit of an advantage on paper. There's the 8-core Power 7 versus the quad-core Itanium. 4 threads on the IBM side compared to 2 threads on the Intel side. It just seems like it almost seems like Intel's real rival is now IBM in the enterprise server space. And not AMD. And what I mean by that is, IBM really has that whole package, like I said before. Intel, sure, they make the microprocessor, but they rely on other companies like HP to really make these whole complete systems. IBM, they're going to sell you their services, they're going to sell you their software, they're going to sell you support, they're going to sell you the complete boxes. So they really have a leg up there, and it'll be interesting to see how Intel responds with their Nehalem chip and basically also AMD, the third player here, what they come up with a little later on. I know they have some 12-core in the pipeline.
Well, you talked about IBM taking this whole package approach, but there are other vendors in this space who are also tout this similar approach. It's
Sure.
Oracle, Sun. Where do they stand now?
Yeah, I mean, Oracle, if you listened to the marathon briefing a couple of weeks ago when they basically talked about how they're going to deal with the Sun and this UltraSpark platform, it was kind of similar to what IBM said. They both talked about these complete systems, the whole stack. There was charts that showed you the whole stack, and coming from IBM, it's something that you can see. You know exactly what they're developing. With Sun and Oracle, it's still a lot of question marks. I know that Oracle, what they're thinking about right now is how we're going to keep these 4,000, 5,000 Sun customers on board. Maybe not all the way there yet with the development of some of this stuff. So it'll be interesting to see how this all works out. I have to give the edge right now to IBM. They seem like they have everything together and are really ready to start selling to customers.
Thanks, Rafael. So now moving on to SAP. As I said, there were several resignations announced with the ERP company this week. There was the resignation of CEO Leo Apotheker, as well as the resignation of executive board member John Schwartz. And it looks like now SAP is now going back to its co-CEO structure that it has had in the past. And it has now named Bill McDermott and Jim Hagemann-Schnabb as co-CEOs. Now, it's interesting because SAP didn't say outright why Leo Apotheker had resigned the company, but it did say why he didn't leave the company. For example, it said that it was not as a result of customer dissatisfaction with the maintenance price hike, nor was it the slow uptake with business by design. And of course, the analyst community has speculated quite a bit on why Apotheker might have left. And some people are saying that Apotheker was simply in the wrong place at the wrong time. although Leo was really good with the sales side of the company, that's really not what SAP needed at this point. Really, SAP needed to focus on the product side of the company, and that Hagemann, Schnabbe, and McDermott are the right people for that. As for the resignation of John Schwartz, that did come as a surprise to some in the industry, because some expected that Schwartz would eventually succeed as the CEO of SAP. So that's a little surprising there. I think what the resignation of John Schwartz is it's probably quite disheartening for some of the business objects executives within SAP, because really this is quite indicative of how well an outsider can survive within the upper ranks of SAP.
Sure, yeah. I'm interested to know, though, Kathleen, what exactly do you think on this? Was it a surprise to yourself seeing these two resignations?
Well, Rafael, it's no surprise, really, because SAP had a lot of trouble in the past couple of years with slow license sales, as well as the customer dissatisfaction with how it handled the maintenance support price hike. But really, along with the announcements that SAP made about the resignations, it also really talked about wanting to renew its commitment to both employees as well as customers, and really wanting to rebuild this trust that it has with the parties that it works with, including partners, and wanting to rebuild what it called as a happier company.
Yeah, I agree with you there. Over the last year, it seems like there's been a lot of employee and customer discontent. And, is it the leadership's fault? You can never say for sure. We went through a recession, right? But what SAP needs to do, in my opinion, is focus on some of those technologies that maybe they haven't been quite up to date on, related to the cloud, related to software as a service. I'm sure there's some other areas even that you've seen that they should be focusing on.
Well, Rafael, I was at SAP's Influencer Summit in Boston in December, and they did exactly talk about that. They talked about wanting to move away from this image of a large ERP vendor into a more flexible business, where they also wanted to try and target the SMB market. And currently, SAP is very much viewed as a company that deals with very large, monolithic ERP implementations, and that's something it wants to try and move away from and expand its markets. SAP has also talked about recognizing several important technological trends right now that will influence its product portfolio. For example, it recognized the importance of the cloud, of on-demand, of the mobile device, as well as in-memory analytics. So I think we expect to see SAP is really trying to turn around the company, and I think we'll see some interesting things from them.
Yeah, I mean, the only thing is it's one thing to talk about things, it's the other thing to do, so hopefully the two new guys they have in there can get to work on some of those things.
So we'll see how this one plays out then, Rafael. I'm Kathleen Lau here with Rafael Ruffolo, and this has been ComputerWorld Canada in Conversation. Thanks for watching. Join us next time.